Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to the Hearthstone Weekly Show, episode 52. For this week we are going to be going over the Frostwing Lair, the last of all the quarter overviews, things that I've been doing for the past month. And then next week, completely different weekly. It's incredible, isn't it? It's still going to be Naxxramas based because it's kind of hard to avoid Naxxramas at the moment, but it's not going to be an overview of a quarter. Anyway, before we start, I'm going to be most likely doing a Soulforge video recently, because I know some of you still play Soulforge. I play it off and on, but set 3 for that game came out, so if any of you still play that game and are actually interested, then I'm going to be making a review of the set, a slightly faster one than I usually do. Tomorrow. So I'll record it, put it out tomorrow. If you want to watch it, go ahead, but it's going to be fun for me, and maybe it'll be fun for some of you. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So we got 3 cards for this week. We got the Shade of Naxxramas, the Smiles Ooze, also known as Echoing Ooze, and Kelthuzad. So we're going to start with Shade, which is the worst, and then we're going to go on to Ooze and then Kelthuzad. So I'll start with the Shade. Now, I predicted Shade would be absolutely terrible. Shade is absolutely terrible. I was actually fairly accurate on a lot of my predictions from the set review. There are a couple which I kind of bailed on, just like everyone else with Spectral Knight. But then there were some other ones which I got pretty secured on, like Loetheb being completely overpowered. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think I got like 80 or 90% of them correct or something. I don't know. Maybe next week I'll go over all the ones I got wrong. But anyway, so Shade is pretty terrible. I think it only sees play at the moment in one deck, and it's a really fringe deck, and I think the person playing it has stopped playing that deck, which was like some Shaman OTK thing with Wind Fury and Flame Tongue Totems and things like that. And I could see it in that deck, but it's just not good. It feels like a bad Leroy. Like in that deck, it just feels like a bad Leroy. It is true you don't have to have as many combo pieces to do it, you just need Wind Fury. But it's so miserable, and you can reincarnate Leroy. So it's just like you're playing Shade instead of Leroy and Wind Fury instead of reincarnate, really. So I mean, I don't like the card at all. I don't like the deck it's played in. It has seen some play. I don't know, it might see some play in the future, but at the moment, you got all the hunters with flares as well, making a bad card worse. So it's just miserable. I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole at the moment, to be honest. I just don't like it. I think it's pretty bad. Not much to talk about for Shade. Now, onto the Smiles Ooze. He's a good guy. You should meet him. Smiles Ooze. His first name is Smiles, his second name is Ooze. Anyway, just like Acidic Swamp Ooze is Noxious Ooze. We're going to have nicknames for all the oozes. I think that's something I'm going to establish now. I'm going to have nicknames for all the oozes. When the next set comes out, which is going to be like 80 cards or something, yes, I'm going to do a set review on 80 cards. That's going to be interesting, and I feel sorry for whichever one of my teammates has to be on that video. So anyway, I guess there's going to be an Ooze in that set as well, and we'll come up with some stupid nickname, and then they can all be related because the second name is Ooze. So that's the best thing about this card, by the way, is the art and the name and the nickname you can give to it, and it's just awesome. We actually talked about Echoing Ooze more about any other card when we saw the full spoiler, just because you go up and down the spoiler and it's all sort of blues and blacks and purples and then green, so you just notice it. It's pretty awesome. It's also one of the best. It's one of the best art pieces in the entire game, and it's also one of the best goldens in the entire game. It looks like he's on a trip. It's really, really funny and it's amazing. And I love the fact that, I mean, it's kind of annoying that he's not seeing more play than he is, because then you could see the golden animation everywhere. But anyway, Echoing Ooze is not that playable. He's not bad. Alright, basically what happened was that if Echoing Ooze was released in the first week, he would be playable. The problem is that Echoing Ooze is worse than Creeper, and you don't want 2 creepers. You don't want 4 creepers, you want 2. You don't want 4 creepers in your deck, so you just don't play Echoing Ooze. That's the problem. The card is not bad. He just fills a niche that he has a cousin in that just fills the niche better. So it's a bit awkward. Like, as I said, the card isn't bad, it just doesn't do what it should be compared to other cards. Now, there is one niche that I can see it in. One, it's better in Arena than Creeper, because you just play Blessing Kings on it and you win. But, I mean, you don't see them as often, obviously, but no surprise, the Epic is better than the Common in Arena. So, I mean, it's very, very good in Arena. In Constructed, the only place I really see it at the moment is Paladin because of Sword of Justice, but it's competing with Creeper, so it can only be played in, like, Shockadon variants with Sword of Justice, and that's it. It just doesn't have a place. As I said, it's not bad, it's just not as good as Creeper. Which is not a bad thing. Creeper's crazy. It's like one of the best 2-drops in the game at the moment. So, I mean, it's even worse because Creeper is incredibly powerful, but it also fills a niche. Like, you don't want too many Creepers because you just have board presence. You just have board positions with no damage on them. So you can't really afford to play Oozes, and it's kind of annoying. Some people rated him to be really, really bad. I don't think he's really, really bad. He can't see play because of Creeper. You just can't. If there's some sort of punishing death rattles thing in the future, then he could see play over Creeper. But until that happens, there's just not enough. He doesn't buff Undertaker. The only upside is... Yeah, he doesn't buff Undertaker, that's another thing. The only upside is Sword of Justice, in my opinion, and Avenge. It's very, very good with Avenge and Sword, and that's about it. I can't really see him being played anywhere outside of Paladin. He might be in some sort of niche buff deck, but I don't see it. One thing I will credit this guy with him, amazing design, amazing art, like, love the stats and the effect, and he is the best thing from Naxxramas class challenges. He's in like all of them. Well, not all of them. He's in like half of them. All the ones to do with buffs, and there's a lot of them to do with buffs. Can you guys like not make all the class challenges in future adventures buff focused? Sorry, that's just a random thing. Like, don't do that. The Paladin one was miserable, which, I mean, yeah, they figured it out. It was like a buff deck with no buffs. It was a bit awkward. But, I mean, the wing in general, I stopped doing the heroics because I don't want the card back and I can't be bothered to do them. I'll do them eventually. Like, if I want all the card backs, I'll just go back and do them because they're not that difficult. But, the actual boss fights, Saffron was a lot of fun, but also absurdly gimmicky. And he could just win by killing the ice guy, and then he wins, so, nah. Kelthuzad was annoying. I'm actually going to say this. Figuring out Kelthuzad for the first time is really irritating, because he just, like, cheats. I know it's phased, and it's really, really cool for the heroic. Like, the phase thing works amazingly for heroic, and I wish they did it with other things. But leave it in heroic. In normal mode, it's like, I want to get these done, and I want them to be fun, and you play him, and you don't even know what triggers him. You just attack, and it's like, wait, my turn's over now, and he gets 2/3/3s. And that's basically what happens, and it's really annoying. So, I mean, I didn't like his chains ability is fine, though. I actually think that was a really nice hero power to give Kelthuzad in normal mode. But, I mean, Kelthuzad, I didn't really like him in normal mode. Saffron was quite fun, and the Paladin challenge I just didn't like. So it's the kind of thing where I didn't like... This was definitely my least favorite wing, I think. There were less bosses. My favorite wing was probably... Actually, a good point. What was my favorite wing? Probably Wing 1, I want to say. Wing 1 or 4. 1 because it was new and it was crazy. 4 because you got all the good cards from it. And the class challenges were a lot of fun as well in 1 and 4. So, I mean, Duplicate was also a really nice class challenge. Alright, the class challenge I had the most fun with was Mage, so it might actually be Wing 3. It was the only one I replayed twice, and I didn't kill him until I went to Fatigue because I actually wanted to keep playing. So I think it was probably 3. I think that seals it. So, I mean, the wing I preferred the most was 3, which is a shame there weren't any good cards in it. Apart from Baron and kind of Spectre Knight if it wasn't for the metagame. So, I mean, out of the wings, just as a consensus, out of the wings, I think I enjoyed 3 the most, then 4, then 1. No, 3, 1, 4. Yeah, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5. 5 was the worst one. I did not enjoy 5 at all. It's like 700 gold. You get a playable card and 2 non-playable cards, and then 2 boss fights and a class challenge. To be honest, I mean, if you're not gonna, I'm actually gonna say this, if you're not planning on running Avenge in mid-range Paladin, or Kelthuzad, and Kelthuzad is actually pretty playable, so it's kind of hard to avoid him, but Avenge or Kelthuzad, just don't buy the Last Wing. I'm actually just gonna say this, like, you don't get much out of it unless you just want Kelthuzad. You can play without Avenge. I mean, to be honest, I think, yeah, just have it like that. Just don't buy the wing. If you haven't bought the wing yet, just don't buy the wing until you want to build a Kelthuzad deck, and then just save 700. You can save 700 in a week. Getting a legendary in a week is pretty easy. Like if it's in an adventure wing. So just save up for a week and get it. It's better than trying to roll legendaries in 7 packs. So yeah, just I would not actually buy the wing until you need Kelthuzad. And speaking of Kelthuzad, the only reason to even play this wing, because like Avenge is pretty miserable, I must admit. The only reason to even play this wing was Kelthuzad. Now Kelthuzad is absolutely amazing. I'm gonna say he's absolutely crazy. I thought he was the second best card in the set. In hindsight, I don't think he's the second best. I think he's like the 4th best, I want to say. 4th, 5th, I don't know, around there. Lotheb is still the best, but Kelthuzad is nuts. Like, I'm actually just going to say it. Kelthuzad is absolutely crazy. So basically, what Kelthuzad does is reanimates everything. Over and over and over again. And doesn't like Big Game Hunter. Ever. Like, in the Lost Versus series, we actually just saw Kelthuzad win. And on the... yeah, in the second game he just won, and in the first game, if either player had played it, I think if the Jumpy had played it, he still could have killed it, but if sort of Birdie had just played it, he would have won that turn. So it's the kind of thing where Kelthuzad usually just wins if you have minions on the board. It's not really a win more, it's just good, and I think a lot of people underestimated it drastically at their own peril, because he's pretty much replaced Rag in everything, which is what I said he would. Because Rag dies to BGH. Rag is a self-defeating card. When he's not popular, he's good. When he is popular, he's bad. So he just never gets good. It's weird. Like, the popularity of Rag for the entire Hearthstone like metagame is gone. And it's usually the one guy who innovates. Is like, basically when it's here, one person's playing Rag and doing amazingly with it. So it goes up a bit. And then the Rags are less good. It goes up because more people are getting wrecked by it. It reaches to about here. People start playing BGHs, gets a bit higher, and then BGH just slaughters it and goes back to the bottom again. So Rag is not that good and will never be good. He's a self-defeating legendary. Like, he can't be good. He literally cannot be very good because of BGH. BGH exists, which means he's self-defeating. The other ones that are self-defeating are like... arguably Barongeddon. Barongeddon not so much because you don't want to waste BGH on him. But let's look at legendaries that aren't self-defeating, for example. Kelthuzad, Loetheb, Alexstrasza, debatably, because you can BGH him, but you can still do the damage. Gromosh. Not to be confused with Garrosh, which is what I always do. So yeah, Grom is not self-defeating. Ysera isn't self-defeating. There's things like that, but Rag just is. And the other ones that are self-defeating are like Illidan. Illidan could see fringe play in future, but in the past when he was really overpowered, he had 6 life and the metagame was amazing for him. And he had a bunch of like crazy free spells to run off. He was absolutely broken, and everyone played double BGH, and Illidan got defeated by double BGH. So that's like what happened, and that happens with every 7 attack minion if it is the only one in the deck, which Rag is. So Kelthuzad does not have that problem. It means you can literally make your opponent's BGHs completely useless. BGH will never be good again, pretty much as long as Kelthuzad is a force. Because you play Kelthuzad, can't die to BGH, and then you play anything else and it doesn't die either. Kelthuzad actually makes Priest a lot better. It's a big buff to Priest. They got Dark Cultist, and then they also got Cabal, basically, because Cabal got like buffed into oblivion with Naxxramas. And so did Shadow Madness. Shadow Madness is a playable one-off, I think, at the moment. It's very, very disgusting sometimes. It's Wheel Storm versus series where it just does things most cards can't. Because of all the eggs and things and Harvest Golems, there's so many Death Rattles lying around right now, it's actually a pretty good mind control, effectively. It's a 4-mana mind control that kills something at the moment. So they got Cabal, which is 6-mana mind control that kills something. Then they got Shadow Madness, which is a 4-mana mind control that kills something, but you don't get a 4/5. And then they got Dark Cultist as a 3-drop, and Kelthuzad. They can heal their own Kelthuzad, and they can Shadow or Death other ones. It's like the best thing ever. They had like the only class with an incredibly easy way of killing Kelthuzad that is not Hex or Polymorph. But then if you use Hex or Polymorph, you can't use them on other things, whereas Shadow Word Death is actually very focused on the 5-6 attack region. You play 2 of them, so you can actually just Shadow Word Death him. It's kind of hilarious that Priest is like so much better than it used to be because of Naxxramas. I mean, they gained so many cards and so many options from Naxxramas that I think the class is actually very good at the moment, which is nice. I don't think it's top tier. I think it's decent at the moment. It's very metagame dependent. I don't think it's tier 1, but I definitely think it's getting there at the moment, and we'll see, maybe someone will break it with some crazy... Like, when you eventually find the correct list, and it will probably be running Kelthuzad, but when you eventually find the correct Priest list, I think it will be tier 1. At the moment, it's not quite there because people haven't figured out the correct lists yet. So, I mean, I might as well be happy. Priest is actually getting close to tier 1 at the moment. And the more options they get, the better they are. You got to understand that the more cards come out, the better Priest will get. I mean, all classes will get better, but relative to other classes, it will get better. The reason for that is because their removal is attack gated. It's attack gated. So if you think about it, the more cards come out, there's going to be less and less 4 attack minions in the metagame, because the 4 attack minions generally are 5-drop. They're 5-mana 4/4s or 5-mana 4/6s, or like Yetis. Yetis aren't seeing play at the moment at all, really, because there are better 4-drops at the moment and 5-drops. So that's the main thing gone. The rest of the 4 attack minions get less and less common because the other stats are more common. So Priest just gets better over time. Same with Master Spell and things like that. They have a bunch of untapped cards right now. And Kelthuzad is one of those cards which just makes Shadow Word Death amazing for multiple reasons. You can Shadow Word Death you can Shadow Word Death your own Sylvanas and reincarnate it with Kelthuzad. I've seen that trick a few times. So there's a lot of things you can do with Kelthuzad in Priest, and the other one is Druid. I think abuses it the most. Druid with Innervate Kelthuzad or Wild Growth into turn 7 Kelthuzad is just disgusting. It does nuts things. I think Kelthuzad is the best card from this week. It is one of the best cards in the set, and I would say it's the 2nd best legendary. Baron Rivendare. I think Fugan is the 3rd best, then Rivendare, then Stalag, then Makesna. Yes, Makesna is that bad. Stalag is only decent because Fugan. Baron Rivendare, the reason I didn't put it higher is because it is a Shaman class card, and before anyone tries to debate that, please don't play it in any other class. You need Reincarnate to make that work. Now, me being me, I completely forgot to put Avenge on here, so let's do some Ghetto Editing, shall we? Yeah, this is my obligatory typo for the video. Anyway, so Avenge is not good. It's not bad, but it isn't good. And the entire reasoning for it, and this is really depressing, I must admit, this is really terrible. The entire reasoning why Avenge is bad is the same reason why every other Paladin Secret is bad, and the same reason why a lot of other Secrets that should be good are bad. Secrets were changed to only operate on your opponent's turn. That was a terrible change, in hindsight. Like, at the time it made kind of sense, because it's like Paladins weren't playing Secrets at all, and Mages were like only playing Secrets that interact on your opponent's turn anyway, like Mirror Entity and, yeah, Mirror Entity is played, I think. Yeah, it's played, not summoned. So it's, I should know that, I played Mirror Entity anyway. So, all of their Secrets operated on your opponent's turn, with the exception of Ice Block if you fireballed yourself or something. Or I guess, Leopardom. So, basically all the Mage Secrets weren't affected. The Hunter Secrets, which made less confusing, but weren't really affected. The only thing that really stopped was like weird misdirection things with weapons. And like opponents' misdirects. It was weird. It did stop some weird interactions, yeah, with misdirect mostly. But it felt so bad. It felt so bad at the time with the misdirects, but then they changed it, and I thought, well, it's not too bad. But then with Naxxramas, they implemented Duplicate and Avenge, both of which should be way better than they are. But in the case of Duplicate, it only works with Kirantor and Mad Scientist. That secret is not playable outside of that situation. I think with Mad Scientist and Kirantor, it's actually quite good, because you play an aggro shell and they have to kill something, and just to prevent damage, and then you go Duplicate. But Avenge just goes into the realm of unplayability. The only deck it works in is something like El Diablo, which is what Dark brought to Deck Talk, I think, a couple days ago. And that was like a mid-range late game deck with like Divine Shields and things like that. Yeah, it works in that list as a one-off, just because you want to play Mad Scientist. That's not where Secret should be. I think Paladin Secrets need to be revised. They're really bad. I'm actually just going to say that they're really, really bad. I don't see why +3/+3 would be overpowered at all. I don't see why it'd be overpowered, considering it can only trigger on your opponent's turn. I don't see why something like I don't see something like Eye for an Eye hasn't been changed, and it's still like that. This is the policy Blizzard has, where they just don't change anything. The problem is, you don't change the bad cards, they never see play ever. There is no metagame that can make Eye for an Eye good. So it's the kind of thing where Paladin got really hosed with Naxxramas, I would say. They got almost no cards. They got Sludge Belcher. Sludge Belcher was the only card they got in Nax. And Loatheb, but everyone got Loatheb. So it's like Sludge Belcher, it works best in Paladin, I think, out of all the other classes. So yeah, they got that, but that's it. Like, Paladin got really hosed. They were a lot, like, I think they were a lot stronger a couple of weeks ago, when Hunter was like the main dominant thing, like 2 weeks ago. They still are the main dominant thing. The difference is that there's a lot of decks that counter Hunter now, so you can't build an anti-Hunter deck and just do well, because about 60% of the other decks are just counters to Hunter. So you have Hunter as the main deck, but it has like a weird thing where, unlike Miracle, it's pretty easy to counter with Paladin and things like that. So you just run into the mirrors over and over again. It's not that fun, to be honest. I mean, it'll stabilize. Once it stabilizes, I think there's a lot of cool stuff to do with Nax, and it'll definitely be good. But as far as Paladin concerns, I don't really... They didn't get anything out of Nax, really, apart from Sludge Belcher. The rest of the classes all got something better than Paladin, apart from Druid. Druid got Kelthuzad and Sludge Belcher as a one-off. Some classes didn't really get anything. I just want to point this out. Some classes did not get anything. They got Creeper. Yeah, Creeper for token. But then you compare it to like Priest, which got like 5 cards, and Zoo, which got 1 million. So there's, I mean, Naxxramas I think was a very, very good set in hindsight. However, it did have a lot of holes in it, and I do think that certain classes got way more options than they should have, and certain other ones just didn't get any. So that is a problem I have with Naxxramas. However, it's just a 30-card set, so what do you expect? There's not much they can do to sort of improve the number of options that much. So overall, the set was quite good. I think that the next set, the 80 or 90 card expansion that they're doing with actual packs, is going to have a much larger impact in terms of new players, experienced players, everything. And it's also, because it's more cards, and it's also going to last for longer because you have to get them with packs. So that is a thing, and it's the kind of thing where that will give more options to the classes, even if there'll still be a disparity, a rather large one, between each of the classes. However, there's going to be a lot of options for each class. You won't notice as much, whereas with Nax, it seems like a couple classes got pretty hosed. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. Now, as far as the Acebreakers thing goes, we stopped recruiting today, so I'll do an announcement as to who the new players are on my next Versus series. But as for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.